Welcome to the 12th Annual Naples International Film Festival. My name is David Filner. I'm the Executive Vice President, Artistic Operations at Artis Naples, and on behalf of everyone at Artis Naples and the Naples International Film Festival, we'd like to thank you for joining us for this special Q&A for our Shorts Package 2, Unexpected Outcomes. We have three of the filmmakers in this Q&A, and I'll let you all introduce yourselves and your films. Jackie, you want to start with you?
Okay, sure. I'm Jackie Kernander. My film is Out With It, and I am in New Hampshire, just north of Boston.
Bridget?
Hi, I'm Bridget Maloney. I'm the writer and director of Blocks, and I'm in Los Angeles, California.
And Guy?
Hello, my name is Guy Lichtenstein. I'm the writer and director of The Audition, originally from Israel, living in Vienna, Austria, where I'm talking to you from.
Excellent. It's a very international conversation. So I loved all three of your films, very different, different approaches to things. But one of the things I wanted to start out talking about is you're all writers and directors for your films, right? Mm-hmm. With a short film, can you talk, each of you talk a little bit about the genesis of your specific film and why it got made and how it got made? We'll start with that. Maybe Jackie, we can start with you.
Sure. So I don't want to give too much away of the film for people who haven't seen it, but it is a little political. And so in the state of the United States right now, well, okay, let me put it this way without giving too much away. My writing partner and she thought of this idea 4 years ago during the last election. And I thought we got to make it so it's out before this election. Unfortunately, with COVID, that's kind of hindered things a little bit. But so that's how this was my first ever directing and writing. I'm usually an actor, so this was definitely new for me, and I loved every second of it. So
yeah, great. Bridget, you want to talk a little about Blocks?
Yeah. So I made this film as part of AFI's directing workshop for women, but I had written a one-pager version of it first. Yeah. So I am the mother of 2 young children. Those children in the movie are my children, and the house is my house. These are things I will never do again. But I was inspired by my own experience of just the early parenthood drudgery and grind and sort of like crushing existential weirdness that came up of having little kids. And I love my kids, and it's a comedy, but I felt like I wanted to do a visual piece that sort of had a metaphor for how I wanted to show how it feels to be in that loop with little kids. And so I made this movie.
Okay, and Guy?
Yeah, I've done this movie as part of my studies. It's been going on for too long, but that's how it is with filmmaking, I guess. Never running away from it, especially in Europe, where as a student your projects are being subsidized. So in a way, it's always waiting for the right movie, acknowledging that it might always be the last one you make. At my university, it's actually the biggest university of music in Europe, as I heard, once in the world, but whatever, the size doesn't matter. But Vienna also being in a way a capital of classical music, and also some personal experiences of friends, colleagues, relationships I've encountered where auditions and finding this unicorn of a fixed position at an orchestra is really, you know, in a way, the balance between private life and career choices. I think this is actually a topic that in many other branches would be also common. So again, without spoiling too much, like my colleagues here, who managed to, by the way, create my interest without actually spoiling. So I'm really looking forward to see your movies. Yeah, it's pretty much about and a topic that is close to me anyhow. I would say women empowerment, although in the case of my movie, it's just that the main character is a woman who has to make a choice at some point, never mind that in the movie it's already a given, but it's about whatever choice you make, just stand to it. I would say, if I would have to say one message that the movie's got in such a short time. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you're all aware, but the Naples International Film Festival is part of a larger organization, Artis Naples, which includes an art museum and an orchestra at the Naples Philharmonic. And my personal background, I was a professional violist for a number of years. So I have to say, Guy, that of many films I've seen over the years dealing with music, yours was the most spot on with so many of those musical aspects. And there were obviously, one of the questions that I had for you was, I think you implied that you had some sort of musical background, but then your actors, and I'll bring this to all of you, your actors were great. And in your particular situation, I think your lead actress is also a professional cellist. Is that correct?
She's mostly a professional cellist. This was her first acting experience. Talking about empowerment, actually, she came all the way from Zurich, Switzerland, 8 hours train for the audition, like for our casting. And it was in a way amazing because, she contacted me before asking what are the chances, where I had to explain to her, I cannot tell, but just as she was playing the cello, me and my team, we all got shivers. And it was clear that that's a quality. It's also generally also in my prior short films, I had the experience of working with non-actors. I think that, what we do, would it be you taking your kids or, whatever, when we cast people, I think that we're looking for certain talents. In my case, in this specific role, it was playing cello. And yeah, I'm just extremely lucky to have had to have the chance to put Cecile, that's the cellist, the actress, and give her that chance of actually experiencing something that she was once told she cannot do when she tried to get accepted to a film school, to an acting school. Yeah. So I pretty much, like also in my new short, but I'll keep that really short, I was looking for two people who can play tennis really good. So, it's the kind of thing I can teach people how to act, but I cannot teach people how to play cello, yeah, or play tennis. So, you take what you have and you work with that.
Yeah, I've heard from some filmmakers actually say that a couple of them have said that actors like Bridget, like maybe your kids, who are not trained or in certain ways easier to train, like having really amazing actors and really inexperienced actors is easier. It's the ones in the middle that sometimes are more difficult. Bridget, what was it like dealing with your own children?
Well, I deal with them all day long, especially now. It was, I, as a director, I'm wary of working with kids just because it's also just not the kids. You have the studio teacher and you have their parents and, and I was like, we still had a studio teacher because am I lagging? Because we were doing this all, perfectly by the book, but I thought it would be easier to direct my own kids. And since we were shooting in my house and they know Claire, who's the lead in the movie, but it's hard because I was also their mom on set. And we have a lot of great behind the scenes photos of everyone hanging off of me while I'm trying to direct. But it was fun. I mean, it was fun also because although I like to storyboard everything within an inch of its life, I also like to improvise a lot. And that was very easy for my kids because we were just playing, and so that was good. And then with the other kids, at the playground, even though they don't really do anything, we just were play, and hope to capture things. And then, make our editor feel really appreciated. So sorting through all of that. But yeah, I mean, it was a really fun experience. They haven't seen the movie because there are adult themes in it, but they've gotten to see their scenes and they're very happy to be part of it. Although my daughter the other day was like, are we still talking about blocks? And I was like, excuse me. Like, it's really helped mom's career. Okay. So we're going to be talking about it for a little while. But yeah, so it was fun. It was fun to do it with them, but yeah, they're not, it also cured them of wanting to be actors. At least the big one, the little one was too little. So that was awesome. I was like, great. You're right. It's so boring. It's terrible. It takes forever. You have to wear that hot microphone. So that was good.
Excellent. And Jackie, for you, yours was really sort of an ensemble comedy in so many ways.
Yeah.
Where did you find all those great actors that you had, and what was it like dealing with that sort of large group?
Well, dealing with the group was great because they were all very professional. Funny enough, half of that cast came from the table read that we did 6 months prior. They just all fit, but Michael Zuccola, who plays the lead Teddy, he is the most phenomenal actor. I mean, I don't know why he hasn't won an Oscar yet, because he's just incredible. And he was originally going to play Chris, which is the smaller, like 2-line role. And our Teddy fell out about a month before filming, and I asked him, could you step into the role of Teddy? And he made the film a different film than what I originally pictured, but he made it so perfect. And I don't know, I can't imagine the film now without him as Teddy. But we had a lot of SAG actors. It's an ensemble of 7, and I think 3 or 4 of them are SAG. And they were just so professional, and we had a ton of fun. So, but I have to give you props, Bridget, because I have a 2- and 3-year-old, and my writing partner wanted to write one of them into this script, and she wanted to have a dog. And I said, no kids and no dog. I'm not doing it. So good for you for doing that. It's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent. By the way, were those your own personal Legos, Bridget, that you?
We had to buy some more. We had to buy by the pound, and then we donated most of them. We kept the kids separate. They were very worried. And then we built that hut in our house, and the kids weren't allowed to play with it. So that was like horrible torture. Yeah. But then they got to on the day for like a second, and then because we shot out of sequence, so then I was like, sorry, that's it. And then it went in the backyard for a little while. But
so they get to keep the hutch?
No. They got to keep some elements of it. It was massive, and like I live in a modestly sized home, so we donated most of it to a local preschool. So my son did get to play with it at school. But yeah, no. But we were finding Lego for like a year, even everywhere, and which is like, art imitating life, imitating art.
So Jackie, you touched on something that the film that you ended up with was not necessarily the one that you thought, because there were changes. Can maybe the 3 of you talk about, in whether it's specifically this film or just in short film in general, what are the kinds of exciting things that happen along the way? I mean, well, I guess I should ask the question, how close was it at the end to what you thought you were going to do at the beginning? And if it was different, what are the things that were sort of exciting revelations or interesting revelations along the way that you learned about the film that you ended up making?
Good question. I'll let someone else answer first. I gotta think about that one.
No.
Okay, I was gonna
Okay.
go. I'm talking so much. You talk
Go,
first,
Bridget,
Guy.
Go. No, I
Okay.
insist.
Thank you. For me, so the big thing was in the edit, I realized, so it's pretty close, but we resequenced it. And that was like really not what I expected. So we resequenced, because it was through AFI, they make you do a test screening with strangers, and like a focus group screening. And I got a note that I hadn't gotten through the whole process about, like, we need to see exactly who she is at the beginning with the whatever. So I recut some of it. But then the big thing that was different and was absolutely right and was a really important lesson for me was there was a scene. So in the movie, no one's probably as familiar with it as I am. There's a slow push-in of her at a party with her friends, and then she gets up and throws up again. And that was like a full thing. That was half a day of shooting. We saw the other friends talking. It was to like open up the world. There were some excellent jokes. These are like all my friends who are improvisers who were doing me a favor. And then in the edit, a friend of mine who's a playwright was like, you know, Bridget the writer is at odds with Bridget the director. And you feel it in that scene because it's like, these are all good jokes. This is thematically sound, but it's the only time we lose Claire at the center of it. I'm like, why? To like show that other people are going through this, but this movie's about her. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. And so I cut everything that wasn't completely centered on the lead actress. So like everything that wasn't tightly in her point of view was gone, which would cut like a minute and a half. I mean, it's only a 10-minute movie, but it was a big, scary thing to do that I just hadn't realized until I was in the edit. But it was a very important lesson to me. You don't miss it. It's so much tighter. Like the message is clearer doing it the way I did it. But it never occurred to me that that would happen until I actually cut the movie. And then when I resequenced it, I was like, oh yeah, I put the brakes on accidentally. So that was a big difference. But I'm a pace monster. Like I want everyone to talk faster. I want to get in later. I want to get out faster. And for better or worse. So that was also, I had to strike a balance of like when we wanted to stay in a scene and when I was like, why are we watching Claire leave the room? Like, get out of there. So I sort of had to figure out how to do that too in the edit. And a short film's a short film. You want it to be kind of short. So at least I do.
Maybe Jackie found out already something to say. I mean,
Oh, if you don't want to go, I'll go.
no, I'll let you.
Thanks. Our film didn't change a lot from the idea that we had, but we did have this whole thing in the script about a bet box. I don't know if anyone has out their family, but we have a box and we'll make a bet for things in the future. Like, oh, I bet you within a year, you know, you're going to be pregnant again or something like that. And we put it in the bet box. And the writer and I, Mal, we, for some reason, thought everybody did this and it wasn't just the thing that we did. So we had that in the film. They were making bets on how long, oh my gosh, I forget the characters' names now, but how long they were going to stay married. And I did the same thing. I sort of played it for a few filmmaker friends of mine in the area after I got the first cut. And they were like, no, that bet box has got to go. We don't get it. It doesn't drive the story along. So basically a full day of filming, I just cut out of like 2 big scenes, just cut out of the movie. And that completely changed how we could edit the ending, which was a huge headache. But as you know, it's like puzzle pieces, putting them all together. So that was a big change. But other than that, not a lot story-wise changed.
Okay.
Finally, I have to. No, kidding. I'm just the whole time thinking about how can I answer this question while keeping some modesty, because no, I mean I'll explain. I've been through quite a rough school, I'd say, with my prior professor, Michael Haneke, who's pretty much a sadistic / masochistic exact director, and in a way, one of the sentences I took most of him is, what you delete cannot fail, you know. So in a way, it's already in the screenplay writing or rewriting and submitting it to funds and so on, that I'm really trying to distill my work, which I cannot say is now there, but at the end of it, I come on the set with a clear vision of what I need. And I have to admit that in my last couple of movies, there was always, because I write also a lot of nuances and stuff that are not necessarily drama, but I do find them to be very much contributing to the story or the feel of it. I end up taking down like a few really minor shots in the case of this movie. And again, I don't know, will this be shown before or after?
Yeah, they should have seen it by the time they get to this.
They should have seen it.
They
Okay.
should have seen it, yes.
Okay, so you girls, excuse me, I hope you'll still watch the movie. There is this character of Tamash, who is the second violin, who's the only actor from the ensemble, was not a real violin player. That's why you also see the movie from that angle, because he's just faking the elbow, so it's fine. And there was like one sentence that I wrote for him where it's in a way explaining, but you know, like pretty much him commenting on who's the asshole and who's the good guy or whatever. But it's just like then in the editing, noticing that it's like treating my viewer as an idiot. So that was one of those moments. If I take it out, it cannot fail. Just, you know, and I'm sure that both you girls would recognize those moments that you have an idea, you have to explain something, and then you understand that you acknowledge that maybe actually not giving the information and maybe leaving something not as clear is better than feeding it to the viewer with a spoon. Yeah, so there was one moment like that in that movie, but generally, I think this is also the practice that we all go through when doing shorts, acknowledging that it's an industry and that, you know, the time and whatever product we shoot is a big value of money that we have to also consider. So I assume that we go shooting with something that we already know we're going to need. And if not, then it's sometimes worth throwing a whole day of shooting, as you said, or whatever. But it's the old saying that the movie is done 3 times, right? In writing, shooting, and editing. So there's a big credit for every one of those in the title list.
Yeah.
You make it sound so eloquent.
I practiced that. No, I delete that. No, I didn't. But edit.
Edit, it's perfect. So Bridget, you had mentioned that there was a moment where it was Bridget the director versus Bridget the writer, and because you were all again, as Guy had said, you know, short films, you're sort of, there's a lot of things going on with the short film. There's not I imagine there's not huge crews, there's not huge production companies that are behind you. You are making so much of this happen. Do you ever find that you want to have outside like commentary? Is that helpful or is that problematic? If it's sort of your vision and what you're seeing, what you want, and you really, I would imagine, need to have a lot of control over everything. For outside, do you look for outside input, or you try to stay kind of in your own little world as you're putting together these films?
I definitely look for outside input. I feel like you should be confident enough in your own idea and what you want to make, but also, I mean, there's an old saying, and I forget how it goes now, but, you know, it's a fool who doesn't seek advice from others. So you just have to make sure you don't let that muddy your original thoughts of what you wanted.
Yeah, I have both. Well, so, you know, I also, I'm developing a television show, and I've worked in TV before, and that's like, you know, you get a lot of input, and for me, and I think everybody generally, I know it's different everywhere other than America, because there's arts endowments. Usually there's the government values art. But I have found that like full creative freedom usually means way less money or no money, because you're making this for yourself. And so I do seek input, but I don't take it if I don't have to often. But I've learned that like, if it's just me, you know, I think my ideas are great because usually they're my ideas. So like a big journey for me as a director has been figuring out if it's the best idea or if it's my idea, and sometimes those are the same, and not discounting it. So I love a no. Like, I don't know if I'll take it. What Jackie said is like, I usually believe in myself, but like, please, I want feedback. It helps me figure out what I really want in the scene. Because sometimes you get a note and you're like, oh, no. But also, I believe, and I'm working on a feature screenplay. I mean, writing is so hard, but if somebody has a note, even if it's the wrong note, something about it bumped them. And to me, that's really important. Like, even if it's like, oh, it didn't work for them, but there's a reason and it's worth looking at. So I try to always pay attention to that. Whether or not I agree with it, it's like a helpful sign.
Yeah.
Now stop talking.
Please continue, because she took the words out of my mouth. I mean, I agree. I personally like working very democratically, just out of believing in the greater good, so to say, or that, as I said before about what we do as directors, we cast, we take talents of others to sort of put it together, like you would say in an orchestra, if you would be the conductor or whatever, but you still need to know what you want, right? So we're looking for specificities, that like specific notes, sounds, or contributions, and then in a way it's about putting it all together. So obviously it's all there to serve the viewer, but the message is ours and got to be clear. So I do lots of test screenings in all phases of editing. And one of the really funny things that I encounter is people who are not from film or dramatic arts in any way, just saying, I'm just a viewer. And I'm like, well, you're the greatest critic I need, because just like Bridget said, if something disturbs my viewer, I can argue with the person as much as I want, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't change the fact that I failed to convey the message that I wanted, if that's the case. So yeah, it's of course, the more input, the better. And
yeah, okay, great. Well, so obviously these films, you're out on the festival circuit with these films. What are your plans? What are your next projects? Either with this film or just in general, what are your next projects? Jackie, you can start with you.
I don't know. I mean, with COVID, it's kind of, I'm an actor first and foremost. So for me, like, this is my self-tape setup here. And I've just been self-taping, doing classes, acting classes through Zoom and auditions through Zoom. And that's about it. I really should have been taking time to write something, and I just haven't, because like Bridget said, writing is so hard. And I just haven't been inspired to write anything. I do have a feature that I'm directing next winter. Hopefully this is all over by then, so we can do it more easily. But that's about it. So if anyone needs a blonde actress with blue eyes.
Bridget, what about you?
I'm actually developing blocks as a television series, and I have a studio attached, which is very cool, and we're taking that pitch out at some point. That's like a magical realism domestic anxiety series. Don't you want to watch that? But it's all been over Zoom. Like, I sold it over Zoom, and on one hand so convenient, and on the other, like, kind of a bummer. And then yeah, I'm working on a feature that I'd like to direct, that I just finished another draft of. But yeah, it's just, hustling, doing a lot of work, hoping someone pays me for it one day. That's how it goes.
And Guy?
And again, she said it. Now with the last sentence, that is. I had the luck that here in Austria, things got quite normal for a short period in summer. So I managed to shoot another short film, which I mentioned before. I'm now editing it, and yeah, I have an episodic project in development, non-scripted game show in development, and a feature film in development. Development is a nice word, but it's different phases. None of it is funded or picked up by anyone yet. I mean, the non-scripted by some local company, but we'll see what will be with it. But I would say that my heart is now with the episodic, that I'm learning a lot every day, and I hope that, yeah, somehow it will be realized. Although I think that in the market here is even harder to pick up than in the States. But anywhere, I guess everything is impossible. in COVID times, which makes everything possible.
Yes, well, let's all hope that things get better all over the world for all of us. But I wanted to thank all three of you for taking the time, for sharing your really wonderful films with us and our audiences here in Naples. And we look forward to seeing the future great work that you're going to do.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much, David.
Hello and welcome. I'd now like to introduce the writer and director of the short film White Eye, Tomer Shushan. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
So first question is, obviously you're not in Naples. Can you tell us where you're talking to us from?
Yeah, I'm from Tel Aviv, Israel.
Excellent, and that's where you're talking to us from now?
This is the place that also I was born and raised, lived here all my life, studied film, and also made this film in Tel Aviv.
Yeah. So tell us a little, this is such a gripping, intense short film. I mean, it doesn't feel like a short film. It feels there's so much happening, and yet it's in this very contained space. How did you get the idea for the story, and what's the sort of the background of making this film?
Well, actually, it's a story that actually happened to me. The truth is that in Israel, if you want to get funds to make your films, you need to submit the script to the film foundations. That's how people here are making films. So at that night, I was supposed to. It was the deadline to sending the scripts, and I was supposed to. I was on my way to meet my mentor to finalize the script and to send it. And this story actually happened to me on the way to meeting her, and I was so overwhelmed, and I felt so intense and so horrible. And she noticed it on the second that she met me. I just told her the story, and she said, "Oh my God, it's amazing! It can be amazing short film." While we was working on another short script, we decided to on the time that left that I will write it. So I wrote the script in like 40 minutes. It was and I shot it after. Then I got the funds, and then I shot it like 1.5 years after. And I can tell you that the script didn't change almost at all since the moment that I wrote it. And it was like when you wake up from a dream and you write it directly, so it will be the most close to what you felt and the real experience. That's what it felt for me, and that's how this story began.
So it's everything happened the way it happened in the film to you? No,
actually, it ended a bit better. The police agreed to just go and let me handle the thing, but the guy that was there and felt that his life gonna be over, because if they deport them, maybe they won't live anymore, because their country is killing them if they coming back. They wanted. So he felt so horrible, and he saw like all his life ending, and I felt it. So the effect that I got from it, that I almost finished this guy life, made me to create more dramatic ending, and it ended a bit different, but it felt almost the same, because he already saw it coming, you know. So that's why I chose to finish it a bit more in a more dramatic and negative way, to bring the audience more of the real feelings that me and him had on the real time, on the real story.
Yeah, I have to say I'm surprised that this is a real story. I had sort of assumed that it was some sort of almost a parable about, you know, the foreigners in Israel and all that kind of stuff. But the fact that it's a real story is amazing. So one of the things that I think is so spectacular about this film is it at least seems like it's all one shot. It's a nonstop shot. Was it actually one shot through it? How did you?
Yeah, it was one take.
Yeah, and how long did it take to be able to do the entire film in one take? How many times did you have to try to get that beautiful take?
Unfortunately, I had money to make it only in one day, so we had to do it in one night. I can tell you that at the beginning, it didn't go well, and it was so hard to make it. We started when the sun went down in like 4 p.m. and only in 1 a.m. we had like the first complete take, and that's when I felt more relieved and I could judge it and like see what I want to change on the next takes. And from 1 till the sunrise, about 4 hours, we made 6 takes. So at the end, I had like 6 complete takes, and from them, I think almost the last one, the one before the last one, is the one that chose to be the film.
So was there something particular about the story that made you want to do this entire thing in one take? Like, at what point did you make that artistic decision to direct it that way?
Yeah, I can tell you that I wrote it as a filmmaker, and I came to write it as a scriptwriter. But then when I started to think how I'm supposed to direct it, I looked at it from another angle, and I started to think what is the best visual way to pass the audience the feeling that I had there, and why I reacted like that as a person. And I asked myself that, and the answer was that I didn't had any moment to breathe and to think clearly. And I think that when you have cuts, it gives the character, also the audience, a moment to think, how to react, a moment to be yourself. And in this film, I chose not to bring anyone cuts. I wanted to be in one take, in one breathe, and only at the end he feels what he did. And if he would take one moment to think, to breathe, maybe he would act differently. So I thought one shot is the best way to make the audience feel exactly like the character in this situation.
So because of that decision to have it all in one take, I felt at least that the set, the area where you were filming, almost becomes a character. The way you kind of can go all the way around that block and through the stores. Did you specifically look for that location? Was that the location where the bike, your own experience was? I mean, how did you find that location?
That's a good question. I think that it was very hard to find a location. It was one of the hardest things in this film, because I wanted to be something that to create a world that you can feel the street, and also a bit to be isolated, and also to be a bit dark and like a bit scary and dangerous. And then one day I went to my friend. He have like this butcher shop, butcher place, and when I saw the fridge, I had like a flashback from films. I don't know why, because I'm probably Jewish. We see lots of Holocaust films, and what stays with you is all the time that in these films you open like a closet and like people hiding, scared from the police, from the army, from the government. And I know it's very different for the refugees in Israel than what happened there, but like this image made me feel that if I'll put them there, this image will be so effective to make the audience feel what these people feel on their daily everyday life. And I knew that I wanted to. I created the whole choreography, the whole film around this fridge, because the most important for me that I'll create this image to the audience, the people that's hiding in the fridge, where all the dead bodies of the animals, and maybe we as a society, we acting and we making them feel, and we see them like that, you know.
Yeah.
So that was the reason.
I have to say that that image of the workers in that fridge still sticks with me, and especially, I mean, obviously I'm not from Israel, but that the deeper meaning of that from a film from Israel seemed to come through very clearly. So congratulations on that. It really was great.
Thank you very much.
Did you have a lot of time to rehearse? I know you only had the one night to film, but were you able to rehearse in that space prior to that evening?
Yeah, because this place, in the day it's like industrial area, so in the nighttime it's kind of free. And I had this place of the butcher shop because it's my friend's place, so I had all the time to do rehearsals, to build the choreography, not only just with the actors, also with the cameraman and the light technician, and like all the crew knew exactly where they need to go, because if you make the wrong step, you make a shadow on the wall, and like, you know, because we film it like 360. Everyone in the crew of the film knew exactly where he needed to go, and to build it was one of the most challenging things I ever did. It was kind of crazy.
Well, and I shouldn't leave out the wonderful actors who are also in this film. How did you find them, especially sort of the two protagonists, who are both very talented in their own ways?
Yeah, actually, I knew that I don't want to use super famous actors. I don't know, it's hard for me to see actors playing lots of roles. Sometimes it makes me confused, because it makes you think of this character, of what you've been in the other film, and maybe it can bring you out of the film. And I wanted to create the most realistic film, with characters that most of the people didn't see before. So I just met lots of people, and because I'm privileged to be in the real story, experience the real story. I remember the characters that were there, and what they brought, and I kind of knew what I want. Because of that, I leaned on the real experience that I had, and also the most important thing for me was to find a non-actor, a real Eritrean refugee, because I think what he can bring, the fear that he experienced every day, I don't know which person can bring it to the camera. So I decided to go for this, and I just met him while he was cleaning dishes in some restaurants in 3 a.m. I walked on the street, I saw him like in a hamburger place, and I saw this face, these sad eyes, and I just approached him and I told him, listen, you have to play in my film. And he was so scared because he didn't know who I am and what I want from him. But I convinced him to meet me for a coffee, and then we talked. And when I told him this story, it made him feel so good that he do something like that, because it was very important for me in this film to bring their voice to the audience. And he have a moment there that he speak, and no one else is there to interrupt him. It's his time to speak, when everyone gonna listen to him, to his story, and to show everyone that there are people, they have life, and we should talk and react, and to yeah, with people, no matter where they come from and what their color, and he felt it the same. So he was a good pick for me, and we worked for 7 months. And he also didn't know Hebrew. I teach him Hebrew, and yeah, it was crazy experience. And we're friends still now, and we're meeting still. We became friends, so I'm also grateful for that.
Excellent. Well, speaking of sort of present day and even into the future, obviously this is an amazing film, but do you have other projects in the works? What are your future artistic plans?
So currently, well, first I have a TV series that I wrote where I'm trying to send it to a few people that maybe gonna cooperate with me, and so I worked on this on the last 2 years, and now I started to develop my first feature film, which is based on White Eye. It's the development of this film. It's almost starting the same way, and the path of these two characters, they're gonna meet again, and they're going to do something great, and they're gonna help each other to do something that it's you know, beyond life, you know. So it's gonna be it start the same, but ending a bit more better and optimistic, and yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us and sharing this really, it's an incredible film.
Thank you very much. I hope I was clear enough, because my English is not that good lately. So I hope I was clear, and you could understand me.
Oh, absolutely. It's absolutely crystal clear. I think everything was totally understandable, and just want to thank you and thank our audiences for watching the film.
Thank you very much, and I hope the audience will enjoy the film. And yeah, it's a pleasure and honor that people from so far can see this story, see this creation, and I appreciate it, and I hope everyone will enjoy it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, welcome. I'd now like to introduce the writer, director, and producer of the short film Talk, Ron Boulanger. Welcome, Ron.
Hi, salut, bonjour. Hi, David, how are you?
So you may be able to tell from your accent, but can you tell us where you are? Because I don't think you're...
I'm actually French, and I'm actually from Paris. So I'm sorry because I got the worst accent in the world, but I hope you will understand everything I'm gonna say. But yeah, I'm French, sorry.
Excellent. So I think right off the bat is why does a talented writer, director, producer from France write and create a film about a LA disc jockey?
That's a very good question. Actually, the first time, well, actually, here in France, and I guess everywhere in the world, we are born watching American movies, and so shooting in English was a dream for me. I shot a lot of things in French, and shooting in English gives me actually the opportunity to show my work and to show to tell a story to a wider audience. So actually, yeah, it was the main. And also, I wanted to work with an American actor, Billy Baldwin, who is in the movie. So his French is not very good, so we decided to do it in English.
So did you actually shoot it in France or shoot it in the US?
No, we shot it in France, in Paris. We actually built. It's funny because we built the set like a fake radio station, and we actually printed a view of LA, lighted by behind, and it works. I guess everybody thinks we shot in LA. It's,
very convincing.
But it was in Paris. It was Paris. Billy came for a few days, and it was incredible to work with him.
Yeah. So tell us how that happened. Obviously, he's a well-known actor, and to travel to France to be in your film, can you give us that story?
Well, actually, I was a radio host for a long time, so that's why I wrote something about a radio host. So I know that world of radio station, I actually it's a very simple story. When I wrote that, I watched a show on Netflix called Northern Rescue, and Billy is the lead of that show. And I said, oh, that's my character. Is the actor I want to work with. And I simply sent an email to his agent, and we discussed, and he actually read the script, and luckily for me, he loved it, and so we discussed, and he came to Paris.
Were the rest of the actors then, were they American as well, or?
No, actually, we have a lot of American actors who lives in Paris. So I was very lucky to do a casting, and I was so thrilled to work with native, actually American actors who came to Paris, but also English actors, or I was lucky to work with Paul Spera, for example. Paul Spera, who does the voice of the villain, is an incredible actor. Or Evan Strangel, who lives in Paris, but he's from Chicago. So it was great to do a casting in Paris of American actors, and we have terrific talents in Paris from your country. So we're lucky.
So you'd said that you worked in radio previously, and is that where the idea of the story came from?
Exactly, because you know why? The story of my short movie is about a guy who's receiving a call and something happening. But when I was a radio, so I worked for a radio called Energy, was like one of the biggest radio station in Europe. And one day during one of my show, a girl who worked with me called me and said during a song, and say, oh, there is someone, the switchboard operator called me and say, someone who wants to talk to you. And I took the phone, and it was actually a guy saying, if you do not put me on the air, I'm gonna kill your mother. She's here, and I kidnap your mother, and I'm gonna kill her. And actually, it was too bad, because my mother was dead since 2 years, for 2 years. So his plan was not very good, so because my mother was already dead. But I was thinking when I was writing this short about this story, because it could happen. And I was doing a night show, and actually there is a pretty crazy listeners sometimes during a night show. So.
Yeah. So wow, that's amazing that was sort of based on a somewhat true story.
Yeah, actually, yeah. And I have also actually another story about someone who came one day at the radio station. It's a true story. Who came at the radio station, and he was inside the radio station. To tell you our Energy, it's big. It's like Z100 in New York, or it's a big radio station, but national. And actually, someone came one day and shake hands with me and saying, oh, we have a meeting. And I said, no, we do not have a meeting. Oh, yes. And it's like a regular guy, like 40 years old, with a tie and everything. And he said, no, yeah, we're gonna meet. And the guy at the front desk at the lobby say, is there a problem? And I said, yeah, I don't know this guy. And said, yeah, you know me. And they took him, they put him outside, and we discovered later that the guy was the one who's sending me later, saying like he's the one who came back to save the world. So there is crazy people, and so that helps me a lot. That helped me a lot when I wrote that.
Yeah. So the Billy Baldwin character, I don't know really anything about French radio, so I don't know if those sort of types exist, but he seems like a very certain type of American. It's very easy to, American radio persona, the sort of shock jock kind of thing. Is that something that occurs in France, or when you started thinking about sort of Billy Baldwin, did you have to adjust it all for sort of a more American version of a radio host?
We have that kind of host in France, but the amazing thing working with Billy was he came to Paris, and we met for a few hours and a few days before the shoot, and we worked, and he put in his what he knows about the radio. He knows very well the radio's world, and so he helped me with that, like pulling like a real American references and stuff like that. So in his wording and everything. So so it was amazing to work with him.
Yeah. So you make it sound easy to do, oh, and we called up Billy's agent and Billy came over and I made the movie. What was the most difficult part, I guess, of putting together this film?
The money, like every short movie, actually, everybody says that the money, because we financed everything. And actually, I have to say, we shot 25 minutes in 2 days. So people who knows how to make movies knows that 25 minutes in 2 days is very hard, because usually when you do a movie, you do like 2 or 3 minutes a day. And Billy was incredible, because we shot everything. If you saw the short movie, is in every shot. So it's him, and so for 2 days in a row, it was like shooting like from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. and the next day 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. So it was a very long days. It's almost like 3 days, honestly. But that was I would say that was the most difficult thing.
Yeah. And you said there's in a certain way, there's sort of a very claustrophobic feeling to it, because you're really just, the whole film is just in that one studio. Did that cause any technical issues, sort of having just the one space that you were shooting in?
Actually, it was very easy. That's why we could do 25 minutes in 2 days, because we had all the lights. We did the pre-light like a day before, and so we were just like shooting in that space. But my main goal was to make people walk with their imagination, because we have only in that short movie half of the story of what's happening, because the other side is just sound. So
right.
The idea is to bring the audience to feel what the main character Billy is currently handling.
And was the sort of the I can't remember his role, the kid who's, it's the first day at work, was that a part of the story from the very beginning? Because that sort of, especially that moment at the end where he kind of makes a decision about whether he's going to go forward or not, that seems like such a pivotal moment of the whole film. How did you come up with that character in that sort of portion of the storyline?
First of all, I have to say I love that actor. His name is Tom Hudson. He's a young guy. I worked with him on a Disney series, and he's gonna be like a huge actor. Because he's very emotional in the movie, and we only have like a few hours with him. So Tom Hudson, you have to remember his name. And actually, we. Actually, in France, and also in LA and in the US, you also have that kind of host who tease, who makes some jokes on the team, and we have that a lot in France too. So and as a radio host, I know like a lot of guys like that, like my main character, like Elvis, who likes to do jokes on someone, and the next day do the same jokes, and the next day do the same jokes, and it's just fun, but sometimes it hurts. And that's what I wanted to tell about that story too.
Yeah, great. So obviously, great success with this film. What are your future projects? What are the next things up for you?
We actually signed with a studio, and we will probably announce it. Hopefully in a few weeks. The COVID situation is not helping us a lot, but I hope to shoot it in the next few months. And I didn't want to do like to take the short and to do a longer version of the short. But so I tried to create a world new story based on the same concept, but with someone on the radio station, and with also the thing about the imagination of the viewers. So we created something mixed with the short and Die Hard. So I would say it's Die Hard in a radio station. It's not very original, but I would say like that, if I have to explain what we try to do.
And is that something that will be an English language or a French language?
Yeah, definitely. We are currently casting. I hope to. We are currently finishing to the budget, but no, I'm very excited about it. I just actually finished a feature in France here, and in the next few days, I'm gonna jump into Talk, the feature.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much for sharing a talk with you, with our audiences, and congratulations. It's a powerful, dramatic film that we're very happy to have in the festival.
I really appreciate this discussion and everything. I'm very thrilled about the festival, I have to say, and Billy also. All the team is very thrilled, and thank you so much, guys.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.